And we are back at the Andrew Gosser Show on 1039 WYAB. We're moving and grooving this Thursday. I hope it's going well for y'all. And we're streaming on Rumble. And we're streaming on X. And we're streaming on YouTube. And we're streaming on the mothership that is 103.9 WYAB.com. It's just WYAB.com, but I do that sometimes. So if you can't pick up the 50,000 watt blowtorch that is WYB, go ahead, like, share, and subscribe to the stream. We appreciate that. You can follow me on X, and I have some good links put out there today for you to peruse as the program unfolds. My sources for the stories that I'm going to talk about are going to all be posted there. I want you to trust me, but I want you to verify me. If you want to be part of the program today, 601-879-0002. Text line is open, 601-879-5060. Yep, love the interaction. Yesterday's show with Gabriel Olivier was certainly really interesting. And it was brought up to me that I didn't take any phone calls. And I think this was one of the person who called me. They called in the opening monologue where Gabe was explaining himself and giving his definition. And I didn't want to interrupt that flow, but I did open it up for the rest of the hour, and no one called. There were some texts, and most of them were respectful. I was really appreciative of that. I think I'll have Gabe back on again because either you loved it or you hated it, but even the haters seem to get something out of it. So that's always good. Look, the mission here at the Andrew Gosher Show, it's standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. The heart of the righteous ponder how to answer, but the mouth of the wicked pours out evil things. And that's really the story of today's show. The social contract with America is what I themed the show today. And I'm going to take the advice of my good friend Clay Edwards and go with the show that I planned. And sometimes Clay and I have the same story, and sometimes we don't. But I think I want to start with the social contract because with the social contract, without it, nothing else matters, right? And I was doing my research on this, and you'll see I have to go through here to get to there because I'm not just going to rehash what Clay Edwards said because he knocked it out of the court. The American social contract refers to a fundamental idea. What is that fundamental idea? Is it life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Is it faith, family, and freedom? Is it as long as I'm not hurting anybody else, it's none of your business? What is the social contract in America today? In general, social contract theory, developed by thinkers like Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean Jacques Rousseau, you know me and names, can never get it. People in hypothetical statue of nature without government rationally agree to form a society and submit to authority. That really gets it. What are we submitting to? Are we submitting to the President of the United States? Are we submitting to the rules and laws of the land? Are we submitting to the governor? Are we submitting to the courts? Are we submitting to the police? Are we submitting to our pastors, rabbis, clerics, or other religious figures? The Pope? Who are we? Are we submitting to God? Who is it that we're submitting to? Because our world right now is upside down on its head. And whether you lean to the left or the right, we can all pretty much agree that the world is in one hell of a bad situation right now. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. We're all in this ship sailing through the storm together. And we better come up with some concepts quick. Now, I've got a lot to more say on the social contract, but this is coming from WLBT, and I just want to comment on this and then move into some other things that I found. We've got a lot to cover today on the show, but this is a big deal. This is a big deal.
And you commit a crime with a gun, you will now automatically be charged as an adult.
Good. If you commit a crime with a gun, you will automatically be charged as an adult. No kid gloves for these young gangbangers who know that they can run with impunity throughout our neighborhoods, terrorizing people. It's not right.
This means you won't go to youth court. Instead, you'll head straight to circuit court. 3 News Science Quentin Smith joins us now after speaking with lawmakers about this new state law. And Quentin, what are they saying?
What are they saying? The lawmakers are saying we're making all these laws, but no one's following them. Lawmakers are trying to say, look, this is the social contract that we got elected to follow. Yet the social people are not following the social contract. And the contract isn't something that we sign with a piece of paper. It's something that we just agree to innately. It comes from within us. Where does that come from? You know where I'm going with this, but let's listen to this anyway.
Well, Maggie, lawmakers, they agree that youth gun violence is a serious problem here in the state. However,
it's just not in the state of Mississippi. It's in the state of everywhere in America. Even in the rural parts, there's still gun violence. Not nearly in the numbers like Jackson. Jackson is the murder capital of the world, or the United States, per capita. We want to make sure we put that in there. We want to be accurate. But it's a problem. Why are our kids doing this?
they butt heads over whether this is the right approach. Some believe youth court is not working and this is a better solution.
What is the right approach to telling a 13-year-old that he shouldn't go shoot up the neighborhood? What is the right approach to that? I'm curious. Because whatever approach we were using back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s appeared to be working, but what we're doing in the 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s ain't working for squat.
While others believe the penalties are too severe.
What am I going to think if, God forbid, someone in my family gets shot and killed? Am I going to think that the penalty is too severe if that person gets life with no chance of parole, living in an unconditioned shack, eating nothing but stale bologna sandwiches and drinking stale water? Is that going to be too much for me? Is that going to be too much for you? God forbid it happens to your family. Where are we as a society, Mississippi? We need to lead the way on this too, by the way, but let's let the lawmaker continue.
We're trying to send a very loud message.
Senator Joey Fillingane sounding the alarm.
Before you commit this act, before you go down that road, you need to know that the consequences of that are going to be severe.
The severe.
Whose responsibility is it to put on these penalties? I mean, as we grow old, do we automatically get the law books put in front of us and we just digest it? Are we just supposed to learn the law by osmosis? Let me put my new laws of 2026 passed by the Mississippi legislature underneath my pillow. Let me go to sleep here and garner this information. Or is it a social contract? Is it something you just know is right in your heart? You know it's good not to go and shoot up a neighborhood, shoot up a school, shoot up a church, firebomb a synagogue. Who is it that is supposed to make these kids understand that?
Consequences come in the form of his legislation, Senate Bill 2710. It holds juveniles to the same standard as adults whenever they commit crimes with a gun.
So when they commit adult crimes with a gun, so you can still commit adult crimes and go to juvenile court. But if it's with a gun, that makes it worse. What if it's a knife? What if it's with pills? What if you got a 17-year-old hooking up with sheriff's deputies and sheriffs in northern Mississippi, funneling cocaine to Memphis to kill other black people? Is that youth courts then? No guns involved. No guns involved, Mr. Senator.
Anyone is under the age of 18 and they commit a crime using a firearm, whether open or concealed, they will be charged as an adult. The law also goes after adults who put guns in the hands of those teens.
Can I tell you something? I know gun shop owners. I know people who sell guns legally. And all these new things you're putting on legal gun owners to do is just straight bull crap. We're following the law. It's the people who aren't doing it. It's the ones where you can go down to Martin Luther King Drive on the south side of Chicago and pick up a weapon, no problem. No questions asked. You got the cash, you got the weapon. I'm sure there's some place here in Mississippi where you can do that. I'm just not familiar with it, so I had to use my old stomping grounds of Chicago as an example. But let's go after the legal businesses that are providing firearms to the public in general. The legal firearm owners, the legal firearm dealers. Yeah, that'll learn them.
If someone sells a teenager a gun, they could face up to 20 years in prison. If their stolen gun is used in a crime, they could face up to 30 years.
So let me get this straight. Someone steals a firearm from someone's house, and it's reported stolen, and it's used. Now they're going to be responsible for that. That's just crazy to me. It's like trying to prove a double negative. No, Andy, that's not what they're saying. Let's say if you got your firearm stolen and you didn't report it. My goodness. I see why they want to say, oh, well, if you had your firearm stolen, you would know it was stolen. Maybe. I know a lot of grandmas who keep the pistol on the side of their bed or in their book drawer and don't check it every day. I mean, we are trying to legislate ourselves out of a problem that the social contract is supposed to maintain and have control over.
And then, if that gun is used to commit a homicide, well, that person could face up to 40 years in
30 years if it's used in the commission of a felony and 40 years if it kills somebody. My gosh.
prison.
We've tried the youthful offender, the youth court. We all believe in second chances and trying to rehabilitate people. But at the end of the day, some people, if they're violent enough, regardless of their age, to shoot and kill somebody, there are just certain things that Mississippi is not going to stand for.
And I'm glad for that. But do we really need to have extra special rules for felonies, which is murder? It's and what about this? What if it is a white person on a black person? Does that get the hate crime modifier put onto it, by the way? Does that go from 50 years to 60 years? Because it's a crime of hate? I submit to you that most crimes that involve personal injury are crimes of hatred. Extortion, rape, murder. They're all crimes of hatred. You might not think it, but hey, there we are. Let's try to take this call real quick. Hey, caller. Hey, you're going to have to call back. It's a bad connection. Hey, we're going to take a break real quick. Hopefully that caller calls back. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Hey, are you there?
I'm here. I just got a question for you. It's real short and simple.
Rick, I'm on I had to take a commercial, man.
I know. I know.
Oh, okay.
But my question is this: why? How can you hold someone accountable? I've had guns stolen from me, and I don't always know the serial number, so I can't technically report it. I can report it stolen, but I can't say which gun it was because I don't have the serial number memorized. But my bigger point is, until we hold judges accountable for letting violent offenders out that reoffend,
Yep.
how are you going to hold a law-abiding citizen accountable for not memorizing a 15-digit serial number?
You want to say that on the air? Because I think that's brilliant.
I will.
All right. I'm going to put you on hold, brother. We'll talk to you in a minute.
Okay.
And we are back here on the Andrew Gosser Show. Brother Rick called back in, and Rick, you had a comment you wanted to make about the serial numbers.
Well, yeah, my thing is I can call and say, hey, my truck was broken into and my gun was stolen. They're going to show up. They're going to ask me for the serial number. Chances are you don't memorize your serial numbers. So did you report it? Yeah. But did you really report it? It depends on the lawyer you get. But that gun can be taken, then used in a crime. I can go in front of a liberal judge. That judge can give me 40 years for something I didn't do because I didn't memorize the serial number. But at the same time, you've still got judges letting people out for violent crimes like rape, murder, homicide, and all kind of other things. Until you can hold the judges accountable for letting violent offenders roam free, they get these 2-week sentences of, time served, and they're back out the next day. To the point the cops don't even want to do their job anymore, because what's the point of risking your life if the guy's just going to be walking free the next day? But yet I'm accountable for memorizing my serial number on my gun. It's just upside down. This makes no sense. You're going to give me a longer charge for something I didn't do than somebody who was caught in the act and gets released because liberalism. I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
I think that the judges are definitely a problem, Rick, in our society. And we have numerous examples, not just with youth crimes, but with immigration courts. Minnesota is a prime example of that. And some people would argue that Hinds County, Mississippi is a problem of it. I do think that as a firearm owner, and I own several, one thing that I have done, and I think would be wise, is for everybody to just take a picture and save it to their cloud drive or print it out, or just have your serial numbers written down somewhere.
That's a smart move. I agree with you, and I do the same. But what I'm saying is it shouldn't be upon me, as when I've done nothing wrong, I was the victim of a theft. Now, wherever that gun goes, because I didn't do my due diligence and I didn't take that picture or I didn't write it down, now there is a floating 40-year felony out in the dark that can be used at any point in the rest of my life. And I just got 40 years just floating out there waiting on it to hit a court system. That makes no sense.
I think it's tough, but I also think that there's got to be some responsibility. Now, am I saying it's a 40-year sentence? No, I'm not saying that. But as a legal gun owner, I'm going to try to make sure that I do that. But it just goes to show you, what's their social contract with America, Rick? We are not following the same rules that we were following in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
I know that most people don't know this, and I'm always listening to stuff. Back in the 70s, I believe it was, whenever they passed the DWI laws, there was a lot of protest of grown men and women saying, look, I just worked a 40-hour week or a 50-hour week. I should be able to have a beer on my way home. There was actual protest about that. And now it's gotten to the point where they get you for tent. They get you for all. What I'm saying is it's a gradual slope, but as they take things from you, it always leads to something else. And if they start with, well, you didn't have your serial number, so you're responsible, and now you get to go to jail for somebody else's crimes. Well, what's the next step going to be? Well, the next step, you shouldn't have had it in your car. It wasn't in your car in a safe. Oh, well, it wasn't in your car in a safe with a certain keypad. It's what I'm saying is they just gradually take more and more and more, and you just slow walk yourself into not having gun rights at all.
It's a slippery slope, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
I just wish they would see it.
Brother Rick, I'll give you the last word. You got anything else, my man?
Yeah, I hope that y'all understand that this charade with the straits, whether it's open or closed and open or half closed or whatever they're doing, it's going to affect us here. And I know they tell us that we produce all this oil. I'm just telling y'all, get ready, because prices are about to go up a lot. So whatever you got to do, get ready.
Yep. Brother Rick, I appreciate the phone call and appreciate you being out there, my friend.
Have a good one.
Yep. Rick brings up a good point. And I'm all about going after these judges. And I do support holding youths charging youths as adults for crimes that are committed that are adult crimes. I want to make sure we finish this WLBT thing, because then we've got other things we got to move into. But here we go.
Not tolerate.
While Phillingain believes this stern approach is the answer, not all lawmakers agree.
And before we get to the next speaker, who happens to be my House representative, I want to make sure that we understand that tough enforcement of existing law usually makes other crime go away. There is no better example of this than Rudy Giuliani in the 1980s and 90s in New York, where New York was a cesspool, and he cleaned it up. It took him a long time, but he cleaned it up.
Would hope that we could leave the decision with the youth court judge to determine if that child should be tried as an adult.
No, 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 no. Don't leave it with the judges anymore, because they've already proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that they are so lenient. They're letting Somalis off in immigration court who have embezzled millions of dollars, and they're getting to walk free because the judge is out to lunch. Andrew, that's an immigration court, not a youth court. It's a court. The judges, we are seeing judges at all levels, federal and state level judges. Yesterday, we talked about Judge Boasberg, who had to stop his criminal investigation of President Trump. These rogues in black robes are just destroying our social contract with America.
Representative Fabian Nelson voted against the bill. He admits there are some exceptions when the juvenile should be charged as an.
Some exceptions. I can't wait to hear what these exceptions are. But all I know is that if I'm being shot at, I'm really not caring whether that person is a 17-year-old, a 28-year-old, a 62-year-old, or 11-year-old. They're shooting at me with the intent to kill. If you point a gun at somebody, you're intending to use it, and it ain't to wound them and shoot them in the leg and make them stop. I'll tell you that right now.
An adult. But in most cases, he believes there should be another alternative.
We need to start talking about intervention programs.
Now, this is where it's going to get really interesting, and this is where I'm really hitting with this social contract. Intervention programs. We've had intervention programs since we've had public schools. Public schools are an intervention program. It's an education program.
We need to figure out how we're able to get our youth into programs that can
How can we get our youth to just start respecting the school teachers in the classroom, the superintendents? How can we get these kids who are just the most snotty, rat-mouthed, foul-mouthed generation, who have their heads so bared, so far up their cell phone and their behinds that they can't think without looking at it, unless they're going to try to hurt somebody? What is it going to take to see that the social contract with America has been completely broken? It's devastated. It's not working right now, and we've got a state rep worrying about programs. We need more programs. We need to spend more money on more programs to increase the programs for the program. No, we need to reaffirm our social contract, and we'll get to that.
Alleviate this. Alternative sentencing programs are things, and second chance programs. Those are things where we can go in and find our troubled teens and give.
I'll tell you what. I know some school teachers in Jackson. We should put cameras in the school classrooms and record these kids doing what they do. And we need to defend our teachers who are having to deal with this mess. You know what would happen to me if I walked into Mrs. Gable's first grade class and I started acting the fool? She used to sing songs. She did a music class and she had a guitar. If I mouthed off, she would turn in from Mrs. Gable to the honky tonk man and plant that guitar over my head, and nobody would say anything about it. And those of us who grown up in school back in the day, we knew it. How many of us had our hands hit with rulers because we were out of line? Oh, that's mean. That's abusive. That's cruelty. Yeah, we didn't have kids shooting up kids in schools either. We didn't have knife crime. We didn't have a lot of things. Social contracts shot to hell. And we've got state reps like this guy, who's my state rep, by the way, saying that we just need to find and identify the troubled youth. Well, depending on what school district, and you could say that 75% of each classroom is troubled. You know what's trouble? They don't have a mom and a dad in the house at home. You sitting there mouthing off to your teacher, come home and mom whoops you, and then wait till your father gets home. Uh-oh, daddy's home. We know how that ends.
Exactly, what it is that they need, and also holding parents and guardians accountable.
So there you go. You've got a single mom. Let's just say she's black and she's on the south side of Jackson. She's working 2 jobs. She's a server They're from 5 to 9 at night, and from 8 to 4, she works a desk job trying to make ends meet, and she doesn't at home to take care of little Bobby, who's out there acting the fool on the corner, learning, living by on the street. Now little Bobby goes and commits a crime. Now you're going to go after mama because she's working 2 jobs to make her ends meet? No. Social contract's broken, and it's not sending more money to mama so she can stay at home. It's how about having mom and dad at home? But we'll get there. But like I said, we have to go through this to get to there.
Now, also under this new law, you could face up to 15 years in prison if you shoot into a crowd of 2 or more people. You could.
What the hell is that? Shoot into a crowd of 2? So now we've legally codified the term crowd. There's some smart lawyer out there who's going to say, well, this says it's this definition of crowd, but this new gun law in youth crime bill in Mississippi says that a crowd is defined as 2 or more people.
Also face up to 20 years if you shoot into a crowd at a church, school, or courthouse.
So it's 15 years if it's a crowd of 2 or more people, but if it's a church or schoolhouse, it's aggravated up to 15 years. Make it make sense. Hate is hate. And we're sitting here trying to classify, slice, and dice everything. And isn't that what the American politics, that isn't what world politics is? Isn't that what world humanity is? We're slicing and dicing. We're putting everybody into silos and categories and classifications. Oh, you're white, but you make below this, so you go into this classification. You're black, but you make more than this, so you're in this classification. But you live in this part of town, so you go into a different silo, but you're in this part of town, so you're in a different silo. Man, they're putting us up against each other.
This new law, it officially goes into effect July 1st. Quentin Smith, 3 on your side.
And that was from WLBT. I want to give them full credit for that. I realize it's taken me almost over a quarter of the show to get through that 3-minute segment, but I think it's important that we have this interaction because we're really going to start diving into the social contract. It really hit me hard today, and I think it's going to hit everybody else too, just as much as it's hit me. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show. And I want to delve into this social contract more because I know it's broken. You know it's broken. We all know where the social contract comes from, but we don't want to say it. You can't say that. Yet we have completely lost touch with all reality thanks to the digital age, as we called it back in the 80s. It's the digital age. Yeah, but we were only 8 bits. Now we've got supercomputing that's just completely running circles. I mean, there's so much information out there that you can't consume it all. It is only, and it's only speeding up. It is so fast. It comes at you so serious, and I guess it's really comes down to what's important to you. What's important to you, and you know what? This is an issue that's just important to the white community as it is the black community, as it is the Indian community, as it is the Hispanic community. It's a social contract where we believe that with a good education, you can pull yourself out of anywhere. But you know what? There's a lot of bad teachers out there. It's not my little Johnny. It's not my little Andrew. It's not my Toots McCracken. It's got to be the teacher. There is a great YouTube channel out there, and everybody knows that the AI algorithm is changing, and it's recommending new stuff to you that you normally wouldn't be interested in, and it's taking away all of your old stuff. Suddenly, Arsenal's not in my main YouTube and Twitter feed anymore, which might be a good thing because Arsenal are in the can right now. But this channel came up to me on YouTube, and it's called Teacher Therapy. And I could waste about the next 4 hours of my life listening at 1.5 speed to this lady talk, but I'm just going to play this little snippet of it right here because this is the problem that we have. Teachers, I want to know. I know that they go back and listen to this, and a few of you retired teachers are listening. Tell me if this isn't the truth.
Years. I'm going to go ahead and say trashy behavior. It's an epidemic. Again, might step on some toes, but there was a time, at least in America, I can't speak for other countries, where you could go on a family cruise and not see women in literal thongs with their entire behind out right in front of children. People would have been shamed to oblivion, but now that is just normal and you cannot escape it, even if you want to go on a family cruise. Not even.
And she brings up a point, and Andrew, this is teacher channel. Yeah, but she's talking about the trashy values that have been insinuated into our culture. And don't say it's the black culture, because white ladies, you like to stick your behinds out just like the black ladies do. All ladies like to have flower comments showered upon them, telling how beautiful they are. Women are women. It's not one culture over the other culture. I don't want to hear that. It's American culture. It's the American social contract. We used to have it where when you go to school, if something bad came up and the principal took you into the office, give you a once over, then you got home and got the once over from mom, then you got the once over from dad. Little Johnny used to be all right. It used to be all right, but not anymore. There are whole sectors of our society out there who are in trauma. There are great teachers out there who want to do the right thing in Rankin County, but they can't even take away the cell phone from the kid. There's materials in our school libraries that teachers want to do the right thing, but the administration won't do it. But we'll come out with a new law and make it sound really good, like we're tough. And we see it at the malls. Look at in Chicago. We can't remember the exact name they call it, but they worry about mass congregations of young kids and young teens massing together to create violent crime. What changed? I'll tell you what changed. It was the social contract with America. The American social contract that we were given from our forefathers was second to none. Was it perfect? Nope. And I want to put together this fallacy that is being perpetrated on by the liberal left. and specifically the black community. If something good was happening in the 50s, 60s, or 70s, it can't be good because of racism. And we are trying to get out from underneath that scourge, and we were almost there. We were almost there in the middle 90s, early 2000s, Gen X. We had that licked. Man, we were having black fighter pilots and Asian ship captains and Hispanic Army infantry officers, leaders. No one gave a crap about your nationality or your race or ethnicity. I cared about your nationality, but I didn't care about your ethnicity or your race. We're in this foxhole in Kabul together. Are we down with it or not? I didn't really get to say, are you a Democrat or a Republican? And what are your sexual preferences? No one gave a crap. What changed? The social contract. And I argue that how they engineered all of this was through the schools. And I continue to find these new channels and these new places to go find sources because I don't want to be nothing against Mike Madison. I know some of you guys don't like him. Mike makes me think. He gets me mad. He makes me want to listen to him. Dog, I know you don't really appreciate him. I get you. I hear you. But I want to have a different type of show. I want to have a different show than Kim has, or that Lindsay has, or that Clay has, where I'm going to places that make people think. I want to grow the American culture. I want you to be the next group of political leaders, whether that be in Hinds County, Madison County, Rankin County, Copiah County, Yazoo County, or Warren County, or maybe even Scott County, or any of the outer shell of counties after that. I'll get my counties down eventually. But I don't want to use the typical rage bait. I want you to hear from people, from educators who are out there actually doing the job. Because it's one thing just to sit there, whine and moan and complain about it. It's another thing to actually go out and do something about it. But passing a new law that tries kids as adults for a crime that they should already be charged as an adult with is not the answer and the solution. Restoring the American social contract between humanity is. And everybody knows what the big sucking sound in the back of the room is. Everybody knows it's what doesn't want to be talked about because we're a quote unquote secular society. We're all trying to be secular, but we all realizing that doesn't work anymore. There's so much more to go through this. And I mean, I've got at least another 25 tabs open and I've only gone through 3. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back.
Trashy behavior. It's an interviews with news stations. It's crazy to me because even growing up, again, in the 90s, I don't remember politicians just saying the F word, typing the F word, going on record with the F word. Yes, politicians had been caught previously on maybe side conversations or microphones, and it was a huge scandal. But just the freeness of the horrible language and the horrible disrespect, that was not something that we have seen so much as we have in the 90s. I don't remember saying it in interviews with news stations. It's crazy. Existed just out in public and ways that people were treated that were awful. Values have greatly. If kids are not even afraid to talk to their parents crazy, what shocking language you have ever heard to a police officer. And that's someone that presumably does have authority to do something, and people
Yeah, you are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show. Carl, I got your email. That's so much to unpack right there. That's like a whole nother show. And some people are really fired up over Mike's show, Mike Madison's show from 9 to 10 on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Um, you know what? He's out there putting stuff out there. Uh, I have to say that I think Butler was real, but call me an in between. People are asking me, where did I get this teacher's video? It's a teacher therapy on YouTube. Why teachers get Gen Alpha to learn or behave. It's not a classroom management problem is the name of the video. And I've got another section of it right here.
People just don't care. And this has been the case when I have had parent teacher conferences. I have seen students address their parents in ways that made me feel uncomfortable as the teacher. And I've actually said, hey, please don't talk to your mom like that in front of me, which is awkward, but it just made me that uncomfortable. So obviously, if kids are not even afraid to talk to their parents crazy, what hope does a teacher have that the kids?
The teacher is pretty much hosed. And here's the problem. History is repeating itself right now in America, and we're too asleep watching football and baseball, sports, whatever else we're watching, being entertained. You know, Hollywood has completely corrupted America too, with the hypersexualization of young females, especially post 2000. But even before that, I mean, you can go back to like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and guys, if you know, you know. But my point is that we're seeing Iran happen in America and in the West roughly 50 years later. And you can look at what 50 years of craziness will do to a country. Just look at Iran. Well, Andrew, it's an Islamic republic. It's a religious republic. Well, it's not the same religion that founded America. And I got into this big argument with AI, and I actually won. I could sit here and read it all to you, but it said only some of the America's founding fathers were Christian. And I said, without fluff, tell me how many founding fathers were Christian. He came back with out of 56, 52 were. And I said, isn't that more than some? And then AI tried to rationalize, saying, well, some of them were Catholic, some of them were Protestants, some of them were this, that, and the other thing. No, 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 no. You're missing the boat, AI, which is why you got to be careful about it. You've got to be able to figure out what the narrative is. And this is Grok. This isn't even Chat GPT. If I do it in Chat GPT, I've noticed mine is way more liberal. I don't know how yours is, but I know that my wife has an account on that, and sometimes I'll ask her to ask a question on it. But you've got to be careful with what you're getting your information from, and it all comes back to education. And in the next hour, we're definitely going to talk about a book that has been suggested to me, which I knew existed, but I've never actually read it. And I think that Americans, and especially Gen Z and Gen A, don't read enough paper books. So this might be something to do. And I mean, there's just so much more to go on this social contract. And we'll actually get to closing the deal on the social contract here in a little bit on the Andrew Gosser Show. Let's hear a little bit more of what this teacher has to say.
Is suddenly going to be respectful. And I would also argue that cultural core values have greatly changed in the past 50 to 70 years. I know that sometimes people like to look back on the 50s as the golden years, and obviously there were a lot of horrible injustices and ways that people were treated that were awful. So I'm not saying let's take it all back, but there was a certain sense of decency, class.
Yep, and we're getting ready to go to the top of the break, and I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, even if you're on the left, you should watch this. If you're on the right, you should watch this. Edify yourself. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back.
5 subscriptions that the 2025 Toyota Camry has because y'all want to know. And when I bought it exactly 1 year ago, I was shook too. And my free trials just expired.
Are math and arithmetic.
And we are back. It's hour 2 of the Andrew Gosser Show on WYAB 103.9. And we are streaming on Rumble. And we are streaming on X. And we are streaming on YouTube. And we're streaming at the mothership, WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up the 50,000 watt blowtorch, hey, like, share, and subscribe to the stream. I'd appreciate that. The number to the program today, if you want to be part of it, is 601-879-0002. Text line is open at 601-879-5060. And the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. Yep. And we just continue to keep going down. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word incites anger. And I know I've said some pretty strong things today, but it's not coming from a place of hate or anger. It's coming from a place of truth. The social contract we've not only failed ourselves, but we've failed our kids and our grandkids. And I have no idea why the algorithm put me down this path today, but it has. And I was given another video from a YouTube channel called School to Homeschool. And it talks about how math has changed. Now, you would think that with all the technology that we have today, that our kids would be just smoking it in math. They would be smoking it in science, that they would be doing all these leaps and bounds. And, we always heard about the crazy Tea Party, people saying Common Core math is dumbing down our kids. They're dumbing down America. We've heard that. I like to consider myself, I'm not gonna say I'm well-read. I know that they're like my daughter-in-law, she's a voracious reader. She outreads me. The sweet bee outreads me. Uh, so I'm not saying I'm as well-read as them, but I'm pretty well-read. And there's a book out there. No, it's not 1984. The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America by Charlotte Thompson Iserbyt. And this was put out, I think, in like 1984, 1985, way back in the day. And it talked about how they're dumbing down our kids. The social contract that our nation had with its kids, that we were going to provide a free public school education that was going to be good. And I honestly believe in the beginning our schools were good. But this lady documents just a whole bunch of crazy changes that have come to light and have talked about how we don't teach math the same way we used to. And it's fascinating to me how these home kids who are being homeschooled are consistently having higher reading rates, higher mathematics scores, higher science scores, higher history scores, and socially they're quote unquote behind. What is socially behind? You don't have a TikTok channel with at least 3,000 followers? Is that where the culture is headed? The book is free online, and I'm gonna post that. But I wanted to talk about this because I just feel like in conservatives, we're just as bad as this. We might even be worse because we know better than the political left does. We know that without a solid education, and that doesn't mean that you have a diploma in 1870 West African lesbian studies. It means that you can actually go out and do something. A real mathematics degree, a real computer science degree. Can you be a mechanic? Can you turn a wrench? Can you plumb? Can you run water pipes? Can you fix a toilet? Can you cut grass? I mean, that's pretty simple, but believe it or not, there are people out there who make 6 figures cutting grass. And you're sitting there in 2 jobs working 12-hour days and you can't make 50,000 in a year. Who's the smarter one? Social contract is falling down. And so when I was shown this video, I just was completely shocked. And the title of this one is Why Are Kids Confused? In Textbooks Today versus 1877. And they're again, the video is kind of longer. They like the short 35, 40-second video, shorts, clips, TikToks. Nah, anything in life, ladies and gentlemen, we know anything in life, if it's good, if it's worth fighting for, it's gonna take time. And for us to get educated enough to where we can speak intelligently to our neighbors, our family, our friends, you're gonna have to invest time in consuming good fruit. We often say on this program, you are what you can consume. And I'm not talking to any of you, I'm talking to me. Am I consuming stuff on the social contract? or arsenal? My faith or Uncle Roger? What am I putting into my body? Visually, audibly? You know, what am I eating? Am I eating good fruit, or am I just putting in a bunch of processed garbage? It's like we're eating nothing but Snickers and Reese's peanut butter cups in America. And this is the greatest, most devious thing about the internet is that there's so much good on it. There's so much great stuff to consume. There's more good stuff to consume out there than we know of. Granted, there's a lot more. You're only 2 clicks and 1 tap away from going down a path you don't wanna go, ladies and gentlemen, and we all know what that is. And it's out there. It is relatively there, even to our kids. They hop on the computer doing homework, and all of a sudden, the banner pops up, and it's your daughter, and she thinks that she's looking at shoes, and the next thing you know, you're having to have a talk and an explanation about something 5 years before you've ever thought you were gonna have that explanation. Some of you will say that you shouldn't be letting your daughter use the internet by herself anyway, but that's just not gonna be the case anymore. So the social contract in education, I feel, is failing, but it's also failing us in our entertainment really bad. And the person who I want to highlight for this is none other than Ramzi Khalid Ismail. Yep, you all know about him. He's the one who harassed a Israeli defense police officer in Tel Aviv on April 7th, 2024. He was the one who went to the Western Wall and put up pictures of Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein into the cracks of the Western Wall in Jerusalem, ticking off all the Israelis. Yeah, you guys remember Ramzi Khalid Ismail. I know you do. He then decided he was going to try his luck in Japan. And he ran off and started trespassing on construction sites in Osaka. He disrupted a restaurant, playing extremely loud music inside restaurants, tipping over tables, kicked out. He was running around Japan singing Hiroshima and Nagasaki, hurling insults and saying this place is next. Yeah, you guys all know who Ramzi Khalid Ismail is. He's the YouTube sensation Johnny Somali. And the truth is, Johnny Somali, he might not even be Somali. He might be Ethiopian. You want to talk about grifting. You think we grift here at WYAB. You think some of us are grifting. Nothing like Johnny Somali, man. Well, he found his luck in South Korea. South Korea was taking no crap from him. You know, back in the World War, Korean women were turned into sex slaves, otherwise known as comfort women. And it's a big deal in Korean culture. The women are respected there, and they don't put up with any of this stuff. And what did he do? He filmed himself kissing the Statue of Peace, which is like a big no-no. Sparked massive national outrage. This is a good American, right? Good old Khalid. Anyways, he ended up going to jail, and I'm going to NBC News for this. An American live streamer who enraged South Korea by kissing a statue honoring women forced into wartime sex slavery was jailed for 6 months and labor on Wednesday, public nuisance and other charges. Yep. He's getting 6 months in a Korean slammer with labor. And do you think the United States are going to go bail him out? I don't know. I'd like to think that we would try to get involved in it, but at the same time, if you're going to be a jerk and go insult all these foreign countries and their culture, and you get picked up by them, well, that's your own problem. Somalia, self-proclaimed internet troll. Isn't that? Oh, that's what we're exporting. That's the American social contract. We're producing social internet trolls. Is that what we're proud of? No rocket scientists, engineers, or future astronauts here. We've got an internet troll. Predominantly proactive videos on YouTube and Twitch and other platforms. And we talked about Twitch. You know, you go and preach the gospel on YouTube and Twitch, and it'll let it sit there, but it won't promote your content. But Johnny Somali, ladies and gentlemen, he takes off to the moon. You're a woman on Twitch, basically selling your body. That gets to the top of the Twitch ratings. Simps pile in. But you talk about the danger of homosexuality and transgenderism, and you get banned. That's the social contract we have with America. You have people like Hassan Piker out there who are saying that the United States deserved 9/11, and he gets promoted and spread all over Twitch. You have conservatives like Charlie Kirk who get banned from Twitch. We are living in such a alternate state. We are not living in reality. We are living in our own little digital AI worlds where we can funnel what news comes to us and we can just shut out the rest. And some of you who are listening will say, Andy, well, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? And I just have to be truthful and say, nope, that's not on my radar scope. And I don't know about y'all, but I've really changed a lot of what I want to consume as I get older. Maybe it's because I'm slowing down a little bit physically and I can't run like I used to, can't farm like I used to, but I can still read, can still write a little. And we are doing such a disservice to our kids. And when we get back, we're going to talk about the social contract a little bit more, and we've got some other stories too. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show on 1039 WYAB. I love this time slot because sometimes breaking news happens just as we're on the air talking about it, and I get to report it and then pontificate about it. And this is a big one, ladies and gentlemen. This is a big one. Israel and Lebanon agree to a 10-day ceasefire, Trump says. And this is coming from CNBC. It was just the first one that popped up. Was checking X during the break, and this popped up. And I'll just read you what Trump said on his True Social, because I don't want to get any of opinion or anything like that. This is just what Trump reported, and then we can see if we like what Trump is saying or we don't like Trump is saying. Because let's face it, Trump does a lot of good stuff, but he is boastful and he comes off very arrogant. And that's off-putting to a bunch of people. And so if you're arrogant and off-putting, that means everything that you do must be bad and wrong. I just had excellent conversations with the highly respected President Yosef Aoun of Lebanon and Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu of Israel. The two leaders have agreed that in order to achieve peace between their countries, they will formally begin a 10-day ceasefire at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. The two countries met for the first time in 34 years here in Washington, D.C., with our great Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Everything's always great with Trump. I kind of appreciate that with him. I have directed Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Rubio together to work with the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dane Raisin Kane, to work with Israel and Lebanon to achieve lasting peace. It has been my honor to solve 9 wars across the world, and this may be my 10th, or will be my 10th. So let's get it done. President Donald J. Trump. And I report that to say this. There is a group of Americans out there who have completely infected another group of Americans out there, and the world for that matter, that everything that's going on in the Middle East is bad. This is like tackling a problem that has been punted down the curb by both Republicans and Democrats. Some could even argue that maybe President Trump kicked the can down the curb in his first term. Joe Biden didn't do anything about it. President Barack Hussein Obama fed billions and billions of dollars in cash into Iran. George W. Bush didn't do anything about it. If anything, it made it worse. President William Jefferson Clinton was too busy taking Hummers in the Oval Office from Monaco to be worried about things like this. President George H.W. Bush didn't do anything about it. I find it kind of ironic that his namesake carrier is out there doing work right now. And President Reagan really didn't do anything about that. Well, that's not true. You can say Reagan did something about that, because as soon as Reagan became president, Iran gave up all the Americans after 444 days in captivity. So you can't really give Reagan the full blame for this. You could say some. Jimmy Carter, I just think he didn't project power. Like, you want to talk about two opposite ends of the presidential spectrum. On one hand, you've got President Jimmy Carter, who everybody loves but was a pushover, and you've got President Donald J. Trump, who people can't stand, but when he walks in the room, he commands attention. And what America's wanting is somebody in the middle, dare I say someone like God, to be the president, but that's not going to happen. The temporary truce will start at 5 p.m. Eastern, Trump said in a Truth Social post. In a follow-up, Trump added that he will be inviting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Yosef Aoun, I think that's how you say it, A-O-U-M, of Lebanon to the White House for the first meaningful talks between Israel and Lebanon since 1983, a very long time ago. That is truly historic. See, that is going in with the American social contract. You know, the American social contract goes way back, and the world knows it. World War II knew it. Korea knew it. Vietnam, we tried to keep the contract, but we started slipping. That's when I would say we really started slipping. Let's take this phone call. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Good afternoon. Well, it's not afternoon yet. Good morning, my brother.
Good morning. Good morning. How you doing?
I was just reflecting on your words of wisdom. Here's a few other people that kind of fit the mold you're describing. George Patton,
Yeah.
Ulysses S. Grant, and of course George MacArthur. People hated these guys. They couldn't stand them because they were hard-nosed. And if you have an instructor, if you have a teacher in the classroom who draws the line and will not move, the administration hates them because they expect more. Anybody that calls balls and strikes like they're supposed to be gets booed.
Yep.
So I think about that. How long did they complain and moan about Moses? They so quickly forgot he had let them out of slavery.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth?
I mean, it goes one thing after another. How short people's memories are, you go back to academics. If they change the grading system today in Rankin County schools where you had to make above a 70 to pass, 20 to 25% of their entire student body would fail.
That would be. Can you FOIA that? Is that possible to FOIA, or is that a?
Yeah. I don't know. That's from my perspective.
Okay.
From what I've seen, because when you got a bottom line of 60, and you got administration leaning on you when somebody finishes the year with a 58 or a 59, holy cow, they're going to sink to the bottom and then dip below there. I shake my head and go, no wonder they don't know what to put on my hamburger.
It's funny like that. You say what to put on a hamburger. Did you know that White Castle just came out with a kiosk today that are in airports and all around? There's over 1,000 of them. That you don't even need workers anymore. It's just a box that puts out 4 White Castle sliders with it as soon as you put in your $10. It's crazy, dude.
Wow. But if you what about if you ask something with no onions? What happens then?
I don't know. All I know is that all these important entry-level jobs that we had access to growing up as kids, whether it be a fast food joint like McDonald's or White Castle or a warehouse job like I had, these entry-level jobs are all going away, and we're just making these kids softer and softer. And I don't see where this is going to end. I don't see where this is going to end in a good way, in my opinion.
Oh, all those tough guys, all those hard-nosed people, I'm telling you, China came rolling down my street, you'd have 60% of the kids walk out the street with their hands in there and go, don't shoot.
And you'd have all us old grizzly 45 and up sitting there getting ready to draw arms and defend the homeland. It's what's really scary about it all.
We already started popping caps, brother. We didn't wait. We didn't wait for an invitation.
Nope.
Here we go, brother. Here we go. And then, oh, you're so violent. What?
And then we get laughed at when we start comparing what's happened in Iran back in the late 70s to what's happening in America right now. And they look at us like we're crazy. And there's no common sense. There's no ability to put 2 + 2 together. I'll give you the final word, my friend.
Oh, you preach on, brother. Preach on. Look at it. It's happening in sports. It's happening in athletics. I was watching an old clip of Alabama and Texas last night playing in the College World Series. And I looked at how many called third strikes that took place. And those batters did not look back at that umpire. They walked to the dugout.
Yep.
Do that today. Oh, they're looking back at you, want to argue with the ball strike count. Here we go. There is no respect for authority. None. Zero. And administration, they coddle those parents. But preach on, brother. I know we got to go to a break. Have a good one.
Thank you, Brother Richard. I appreciate it. And it's just the confirmation out there. It's a small group of teachers out there who are whining and talking about this and whining and complaining in a good way. They're not just doing it to do it. They're not Karens. They're sitting there saying, look, we're producing kids that can't compete. And then we get ticked off when our universities around Mississippi start importing students from outside the United States of America because the Americans aren't smart enough to do it. Americans can't make a White Castle, let alone go to the school of engineering at Ole Miss. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Be right back. You know, I am so grateful and thankful to all the listeners out there. I have the best listening audience. I get stuff in the middle of my show prep. I was about ready to go talk about uh, the ACLU, about ready to sue Mississippi. But through all of my news filtering, through all of my feeds and everything, I didn't see this. But Brother Rick sent me a story here, and it's basically from Newsweek. So it's not like it's BS. It's a real deal. Chinese man admits to smuggling bacteria into U.S. via underwear package. And of course, it's got a bunch of pop-up ads, so forgive me as I go through this. A Chinese national and former Indiana University postdoctoral researcher has pleaded guilty to secretly smuggling in bacteria into the United States by concealing them inside a shipment falsely labeled as women's underwear, federal prosecutors say. And I'm going to butcher the heck out of this name, so I apologize, but I'm going to do my best. Yu Hong Zhang, 32, admitted that samples of E. coli bacteria DNA were hidden inside a package shipped from China to his Bloomington, Indiana residence. What the hell are the Chinese doing? And everybody's like, oh, we're after Iran. We need to worry about the Chinese. Yeah, we do. That's why we went after Venezuela. We took away their oil. That's why we went after Iran to get rid of the terrorist threats of Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis. And inconsequently, we shut off their oil, which China was buying from them with the yuan, not the dollar, might I add. I mean, it's absolutely insanity out there if you just go where to look. And I miss that. And to Rick's point, he goes, they're going to sit there and give me 40 years for not tracking my gun right. And this, I wonder what this Chinese national postdoctoral student is going to get for sneaking biological components that could be used for biological warfare. Let's not call it for what it is. I'm not going to say it definitely was, but from the reporting of Newsweek, it looks like it could be used and weaponized in that kind of way. I mean, this is like coronavirus 2.0 all over again. Doesn't it seem like it? And I didn't even have a chance to see that. And so when Carl, you send me stories, Rick, you send me stories, Richard sends me stories, unknown texters. I've got like 4 of you here with stories. I really appreciate it. If they're videos and stuff like that you want me to watch, I will watch them, but I'm not going to get to them until after the show because I'm just not that quick to watch a 15-minute video during commercial break. But this was the story that I was going to get to. And again, it's talking about our societal contract. What is America's societal contract with its citizens? Are we going to enforce the borders and the rule of law? Or are we going to make new carve-outs that make certain people feel good? Because, it's not about following the law. It's how you feel inside. Because you're a good person. You just want what's best. You really care. You need to show you care. We got to have that coexist sticker on the back of your car. I won't say Prius because I drive one and I'm grateful for it. I'll tell you what, with the gas prices that they are, yep, there's a reason I've got a Prius. I got a truck too, and I do drive it, but gas economy, got to take care of it. New Mississippi laws aimed at curbing illegal immigration could face challenges from ACLU, coming from the Magnolia Tribune. And, they always ask the U.S. sailors when we're visiting ports in Italy or France or wherever at, hey, are there any nuclear weapons on board the aircraft carrier? And we all were given the same speech. I can neither confirm nor deny that there are nuclear weapons on board the USS America, CV-66 Carrier Ring 1 team. And you know what? I can honestly say I don't know because I wasn't an ordy and I wasn't a commander, so I wouldn't know. But if you were guessing, do you think you got it? This is what the leader of the ACLU said, or Lyda Grisvel. of the ACLU said, "I cannot confirm nor deny that we will be taking legal action against these laws," said Linda Gazelle, Policy and Advocacy Manager of the ACLU of Mississippi. Oh, there's going to be another fight, another court fight. Can we defend our borders? Or does the ACLU take charge and just open up Mississippi? And let's be honest, what jobs are these illegal immigrants taking? Illegal immigration has become a hot topic during the 2026 legislative session, with a flurry of bills being introduced, debated, and few signed into law by the governor. But this was one of them. State Senator Angela Hill, Republican, said that lawmakers were putting some teeth into immigration laws. And State Senator Angela Hill, she's one of the good ones. She literally sticks her neck out there to get stuff done. And, she got this one through. She's a very savvy politician. And it's good. Why wait on the federal government to start doing stuff? If we find illegal aliens here in the state, let's go after them and start getting them out of here beforehand. Credit to Shad White and his office having some of his inspectors and deputies trained up to go ahead and work with ICE. But we need to take our country back and our state back. Illegal immigration hurts every sector of the employment food chain, whether that be the actual jobs themselves, the schools, the healthcare and hospitals. It takes away resources from people who should be getting them, who are residents of Mississippi, and giving them people who shouldn't. And then she just goes ahead and reports her quote again, "I cannot confirm or deny." You always trying to make it, they notice how the left always tries to make subterfuge, incognito, dodgy what they're going to do. But they're going to sue us, and it'll go to court. And you know what's going to likely happen? It'll go to the lower federal court, and it's going to be overturned. Then it's going to go to the appellate court, and they're going to reverse it. Then it's going to go to the Supreme Court, and they're going to say, "Yep, Mississippi can do what it wants." But in the meantime, the weak-minded skulls full of mush will be indoctrinated that this is a bad bill. The teachers will come out against it. The school boards will come out against it. The people before it, and we're wondering why our elected officials at these lower levels are voting against our own best interests. Well, you just don't understand. You don't understand how the kids feel. And it's for the children. The children. We've got children raising kids right now. Kids raising children. We don't seem to be worried about that too much. HB 538 updated Mississippi's prohibition on political subdivisions, such as cities and counties adopting a sanctuary policies to include law enforcement agencies. And that's the big deal. It's not so much in the rural parts of Mississippi, although there are immigration problems there. It's not like the cities are having these sanctuary city policies. I didn't realize that Mississippi had any sanctuary cities other than Jackson, but I thought that was overturned. Maybe I'm mistaken. Anyone who interferes with federal agencies could be investigated and face possible legal action by the Mississippi Attorney General's office. Oh, well, you're safe. You're good to go. Mississippi Attorney General's office, you ain't got nothing to worry about. Well, actually, you probably will, because they'll want to make an example out of you. But one shot wonder right there. I'm just so disenfranchised with our prosecutors on all levels, going after the legally law-abiding citizens on these small, insignificant technicalities. Meanwhile, letting the illegal aliens come in here and rape and pillage our hospital and education system, take away jobs from Mississippi people, Americans. We don't want any of the sanctuary city type business happening here in Mississippi if federal agents are here to enforce federal law. Let them do their work so they can do it properly, said State Senator Jeremy England. Yep, agree with that. But there's got to be another side to it. During the floor debate on the measure, Democrat senators pushed back on the bill. Senate Minority Leader Derek Simmons said, we'll do as much better as a state if we can fund our schools, provide health care to those Mississippians who are without health care, and work on restoring our fundamental right to vote. How many times, and see how they immediately go to health care for Mississippians? They're not Mississippians. They're illegal aliens, Senator, Mr. Minority Leader. That's the difference. You just don't move in and say, oh, I'm a Mississippian now. I'm an American now. That's not how it works. But because our education system stinks so much that we can't even teach the basic citizenship of the United States of America, our kids don't know any better. But they know how they feel. Look, you are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We're going to take our last commercial break. We'll be right back. Yeah. Welcome back. Final segment of the Andrew Gosser Show. I just want to say thank you to all the texters. Um, Texted me a lot of really interesting stuff that wasn't necessarily on topic for the show today, but I'll put it in my stack of stuff for tomorrow and we'll get after it. Unknown texter says, Andrew, I really appreciated your segment with Gabe yesterday. Seems to me like we have a problem with street evangelism. I think we have a problem with being offended. And, it's one of the things where we don't teach deductive reasoning in schools anymore, critical thinking. It's just how does it make us feel? And with the advent of the technology that our kids are exposed to now, it's all about feeling. It's not about learning. For us, feeling was, do you touch a hot stove? Ouch. Now, how does this cartoon make us feel? And, I told Gabe this to his face. I'll tell you all too. It makes me uncomfortable, but not in maybe the sense that it makes you feel uncomfortable about it. Because I always look at it myself. I'm like, oh, I could do this better. I could do that better. I'm really being convicted about me and some of the language that I use sometimes. But, he was truthful about it. And if you're quoting scripture and you're doing so truthfully, that's not a bad thing. I'll quote scripture in the Bible to scripture in Quran all day long. And to be truthfully with you all, that's what the Sweet Bee and I looked at a lot last night was apologetics between Christians and Islam. And I watched a lot of debates where the Muslim side actually won because the Christian couldn't defend their side. So that just makes me want to be a better person. Thank you to the texter who sent me the story on the biological material being sent in by the Chinese. That's really scary. And I'm telling you what, we're going to see some more of this craziness happen before it gets better. And anybody who doesn't think that we're not at war with the Chinese right now, we are. It's just not kinetic. It's financial. It's clandestine. And it's happening whether you want to or not. And I'm glad we have brave warriors and people out there who do that kind of stuff. Look, coming up next is Miss Lindsay Beckham on WYAB 103.9 with the Lindsay Beckham Show. After that, we have some national shows. And then after that, you know who's coming up. Who? Radio Strongman, Kim Wade from 4 to 6. Look, if you're looking to advertise here on WYB, I think it's a great thing to do. You can always use a little bit of pep in your step when it comes to business. We've got lots of educated listeners out here who, in our support for our sponsors on this radio station are incredible. I'm greatly thankful for those who sponsor my show and allow me to say what I need to say without having to put a censor on it. Matt never comes in and puts a censor on what I'm going to say. And that's what America's all about, by the way. Having the freedom of speech, yet having a responsibility to do so in a way that isn't necessarily degrading the social contract with America. You have been listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be back in about 22 hours, everybody. Take care, be blessed, and amen.